Reddit fresh.
Am I the idiot for not using my husband's hilarious gift? H, male 29, and I, female 26, have been married for 4 years. I had a great job in sales before COVID, but we found during the pandemic that things just work better with H at work and me at home. He earns enough to support us both. I never thought I'd end up being a traditional wife, but given that he's the breadwinner, I sometimes feel as though I should pick up a lot of the slack at home. I'm not a great cook, but I'm sociable and enjoy being the hostess. When H has friends over to watch soccer, I prepare a huge tray of snacks, keep the beers on ice, and pop in with drink and food top-ups during the game. I don't stay to watch, but I do ask the guys how they're doing, etc., just polite chit-chat. They all seemed into it and often comment that H has done well to have such a great wife. It's a nice setup. Last week, H came home with a beautifully gift-wrapped box and said he got me a little something to wear when his friends are next over. I do my best to dress nicely when they're around, so I figured it would be a pretty dress or something. He had this huge grin on his face, so I was so excited. I opened the box to find a red latex mini dress and a ball gag. The gag was designed to look like a soccer ball and the dress is in his team's color. I didn't know what to say at first. I was so confused. He's never been into anything like that. He's very vanilla. I asked if it was a joke, and at first he said no and told me his friends wouldn't believe how lucky he was if I walked in with the snacks like that. I can't remember what I said next, but then he told me it would be hilarious if I wore it and I should lighten up. I gave it a nervous laugh and told him I thought it was funny too. This morning, he put both items on my dresser and said he's looking forward to seeing me in them when the guys are around tomorrow. I reminded him that he said it was a joke. He got a bit sulky and said he can't believe I don't have a sense of humor. But from what he's saying, it sounds like he's expecting me to wear it. I'm so confused because 1, I don't know if he's done this as a joke because his friends think I talk too much, or 2, if he'd get off on me being humiliated. He says I'm being uptight and calls me out for being an AH, but I honestly don't think I'm unreasonable. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your husband is weird. Or maybe he is testing your limits and will become more abusive once you are fully financially dependent on him. Consider staying away during the next party. And definitely consider getting a job and a backup bank account that he doesn't have access to. Not the idiot. Your husband's idea of a joke is humiliating you to his friends. He's showing you off like a possession. Don't stay dependent on someone who will do this to you. You should always have your own source of income. It's fun being a stay-at-home wife for a while, but what if something happens to him? You'll have a huge career gap and no resume. A man who treats you like a joke is not a good long-term bet. Take care of yourself. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for lashing out at my family for calling my fiancée my second wife? Years ago, I was married to a close friend. We were roommates, adopted a dog together, and lived together since college until our mid/late 20s, married at 24 and 25. However, we were never actually romantically involved. She was not interested in marriage and also questioned her sexuality at the time, but her family was ultra-traditional and messy for many other reasons and kept pushing for her to settle down. I had just gotten out of a rough long-term relationship, and we kind of just both said, frick it, we basically were kind of living like a married couple, let's get married for convenience. So we did the paperwork for it, but we never had a wedding. We were also never romantically involved. She just was not my type and I was not hers. My family knew she wasn't my wife in the traditional sense. They did heavily disapprove though. When I started getting back into the dating scene, we split up and legally divorced. She remains one of my close friends to this very day, and I care for her a lot. It's been a few years, and I am now 32 with a lovely fiancée who I cannot wait to marry. However, ever since I announced the engagement, my family has been making weird comments, like, oh, so Roxy's, my dog, is getting a new stepmom. Wife number 2 at 32, huh? That's a lot of wives for your age. Let's hope this second one lasts. It makes both me and my fiancée uncomfortable. I keep on saying that my close friend wasn't really my wife in the traditional sense, but my family brushes me off by saying that they're just joking, or she's technically my second wife anyway, so it's not like they're wrong. Today at breakfast though, I blew up at them and called them disrespectful and rude for belittling my relationship. My mom and my sister both said that if I didn't want to hear these statements, I shouldn't have married my close friend. I threatened to not invite them to the wedding, and now things are super tense. Am I the idiot? Some edits from the comments I made to help answer some common questions: why I married my close friend, health insurance, mostly, but also because they kept holding her tuition over her head. We were both in grad school at the time. She was gunning for a PhD. I was going for a master's, but I had a job in an energy commission with some benefits. They'd always tell her that they'd stop sending her money, or, some months when the arguing was bad, not send her money at all. They used money to punish her, basically. She had a lot of health issues at the time that she couldn't get help for, like chronic pain and wisdom teeth that really needed to be removed, alongside some other personal issues. So getting married got them off her back about her sexuality, got her on my health insurance plan, and got them to be more consistent in sending tuition money for her. There were a few other things too, like how they kept setting up potential arranged marriages for her or threatening to take her home to their country. There was also a time when they threatened to have her committed to a mental health facility. At the time, she was also really reluctant to let me help her beyond minor things because she felt like it was something she had to repay. So between us, it also gave me an excuse to help her. I'd be like, hey, it's what your spouse is supposed to do, right? Even though we both agreed that our marriage was a farce, I think it did something for her psychologically to accept that we had a legally binding relationship where I could help her. I don't know, it was complicated, but it was something that worked for us. I was able to pay for her treatment and let her use my money for herself. She has now graduated and is financially stable. To my knowledge, she no longer speaks with most of her family. She's doing amazing for herself, and I am so damn proud of her. My fiancé knows about my past marriage and has no issue with it. I met her through my close friend, actually, as a mutual friend. At the time, I was already split from my close friend, and while she was initially confused, me and my close friend both sat her down and explained things as clearly as possible. She understands why we did what we did. My family, I was always 100% transparent with my family on my marriage with my close friend. My family understood that I went through a rough relationship before my marriage. I think my mom's exact words at the time were, "I won't force you to do anything, but I'm really disappointed that you take marriage so lightly." They understood that I married my close friend to help her, but I also got the slight impression that they figured everything would sort itself out with our marriage, i.e., I would fall in love with her or something. My aunts and uncles didn't say much else than that they were disappointed that they couldn't attend a real wedding. When I met my fiancée, I told them how it was a big deal to me that it was my first, genuine, supportive romantic relationship in a long time. At the time, they all seemed happy for me and no comments like these came up. They told me they were glad I was able to find love again. It was only when we announced the engagement that these comments started. Not the idiot. I mean, technically they are correct. She is your second wife, so I guess you are a slight idiot if I only look at the title. However, if their comments make you and your wife uncomfortable and you have asked them multiple times to stop, then they are the bigger assholes for continuing. Not the idiot. Holy poop, what is wrong with your family? It's none of their goddamn business who you were married to before, especially when it wasn't even a romantic relationship. Calling your fiancée your second wife is disrespectful and insensitive. Your blow-up was justified, and if they can't respect your boundaries, they don't deserve to be at your wedding. Stick to your guns, my dude. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for telling my brother it was a dumb decision to invite his new GF over for our nephew's birthday, and I understand why our brother-in-law uninvited him? My, male 20, brother Ron, male 27, met his late wife Linda when they were 16 and they started dating shortly after. To say the family adored her would be an understatement. Linda was beautiful, smart, and had an amazing sense of humor. She's been part of the family for so long that most of us don't remember a time without her. Most of our best memories have her in them. Linda was very close to my nephew Drew, 6M. Drew is disabled and autistic, so he has a hard time connecting to other people. I don't know how to describe the relationship between Drew and Linda, they just sort of clicked, and from the moment he was born she was his best friend and would often watch over him. Sadly, Linda passed away at the end of January after she was hit by a drunk driver. The entire family was devastated and we are still mourning her. Drew took it especially hard since he doesn't really grasp what death means yet. He constantly asks where Linda is and when she'll be coming back, sometimes going as far as having full-blown meltdowns because he misses her so much. He is currently attending therapy to learn how to process his grief, but it's a slow progress. Drew's birthday is in 2 weeks, and my sister and brother-in-law sent out invitations to everyone in the family asking who can come. Birthdays are a big deal in our family and are usually an over-the-top event with catering, so it's necessary to confirm the number of guests. Apparently Ron wrote that he'll come with Gia, a new girlfriend he is hoping to introduce to the family. Most of the family is pissed at him for moving on so quickly. I personally think it's none of my business, and I'm not going to tell him what to do or how to live his life. However, bringing a new partner over to his nephew's birthday when he knows how said nephew was so attached to his former GF and is still mourning her is idiotic at best and cruel at worst. Brother-in-law told Ron that if he's planning on bringing that girl over for Drew's birthday, he shouldn't bother coming at all. Ron called me to complain, and I told him the same thing. He shouldn't bring her over. Ron called me an idiot and a bad brother. He said that he's finally happy again after Linda's death, and why is it so hard for us to accept that he moved on and support his relationship? I told him I'm happy to hear he's doing well, and I'm sure the family would someday love to meet the girl that makes him so happy, but I'm standing by my opinion that inviting her now was a dumb decision on his part, and he chose the worst possible time and place to introduce someone new to the family. Edit: Ron and Linda were still together when she passed away. Not the idiot. An autistic kid's birthday is really not the time to be introducing new people, particularly when the kid in question hasn't even processed that Linda is gone yet. Also, Linda passed away 4 months ago, and he is already ready to introduce a new girlfriend? Well, your brother sure moved on fast. Not the idiot. I don't think your brother should be punished for finding happiness with someone new, and shouldn't be held to your family's timetable for grief. But Drew's birthday is the wrong time to introduce her to the family given how young Drew is and how attached he was to Linda. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for flipping out on my husband via text after he let his phone die during a family emergency? So I, female 34, and my husband, male 35, had a plan this weekend that he would be the next state over for a college reunion while I stayed home with our 1-year-old baby. All was fine and well until yesterday, right before he was leaving for the party that was at a bar, and I got an unexpected call from my parents who also live out of state. I am a nurse, so they were asking what they should do with my grandma, who called them stating that she couldn't feel her foot and that she was in excruciating pain. I told them to take her to the ER immediately, and they said she couldn't walk, so I told them to call an ambulance. I called my husband right after, and the last update that I gave him before his party was that they were transferring her to another hospital for emergency surgery for a life-threatening condition. I was waiting anxiously at home when the surgery was taking way longer than expected, greater than 3 hours. My husband hadn't checked in at all. I got a text from a number that I didn't know that was a drunk selfie of some guy and my husband, with zero context. I texted my husband and said that I was worried sick about my grandma and didn't appreciate getting texted drunk selfies from random people. Heard nothing. After an hour, I texted the random number and asked if my husband's phone had died, and he said yes. Here's where I may be TA. I texted back, cool, my grandma is still in emergency surgery. I never got a reply to this. About 4 hours later, when my grandma survived and was transferred to the ICU, I texted my husband how much he had let me down. This turned into a fight where he believes that he did no wrong because I knew he was looking forward to this party for 2 months and he couldn't do anything anyway. I blew up and told him how irresponsible it was for him to get drunk and let his phone die while I was alone with our baby during a family emergency. He apologized for not checking in more, to which I corrected that he didn't check in at all, not even the next morning, and he says that he did his due diligence in making himself reachable, and I said that a random number texting me a drunk selfie does not count as him telling me that his phone was dead and that's how I should reach him. He said the name of the bar in passing a few times, but I couldn't remember the name and I did not know the name of his hotel. He says I'm just overreacting and it's not a big deal because it's not like he could do anything from another state and that he did no wrong. Seeing his friends was important to him and a lot of them he hasn't seen in 15 years, and that he shouldn't have to disrupt his plans to cater to me. I didn't ask him to take the next flight home, just be available or communicate that he wasn't. I told him that I was afraid and he could have at least checked to see if I was okay, and that it also isn't okay to let your phone die when someone else has your child even without an emergency. So, am I the idiot for flipping out on him? ETA that the emergency happened right before the party, so he was sober at that time and aware that the situation was touch and go. I called him immediately after I had my parents call 911. Edit 2. He finally gave me a sincere apology and told me the things that he wishes he had done differently and how insensitive his response or lack of was. We had a long, but overall good discussion and hope that something like this doesn't happen again. Thank you to all the people that offered support. The other update is that my grandma is now out of ICU and on a step-down unit, having another surgery tomorrow, but is stable for now. Not the idiot. A supportive partner is someone who checks in regularly during a stressful and scary situation like this. Also, there was the real chance your family would need to be with your grandmother. I honestly can't imagine being able to get hammered and have a great time with old friends when I know my wife is home worried with our 1-year-old. To get a drunk selfie is incredibly disrespectful. Not the idiot since he was sober when he first heard about the situation. Getting drunk with buddies v. Supporting your partner in a family emergency? He's old enough to know better, and he could have used his friend's phone to check in on you, and nobody needs to get incoherent drunk at his age. What a jerk. If you liked this video, you will probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.